our government's commitment for enhancing women's role in economic development.
This budget had 4 focus groups: the poor, the youth, the farmers, and finally, women. Let's focus on the last group, women. What does this budget mean for the women of India? The government already has a number of schemes for them, so it's all about the allocation. How much money has been set aside? This time, around 3 lakh crore rupees, which is $36 billion. This money, $36 billion, will be spent on women empowerment, on their health, on education, and on skilling. The finance minister made some specific points too. She focused on women's participation in the workforce.
Participation of women in the workforce. We will facilitate higher participation of women in the workforce through setting up of working women hostels in collaboration with industry and establishing creches. In addition, the partnership will seek to organize women-specific skilling programs and promotion of market access for women SHG enterprises.
That's one focus area. Setting up working women's hostels. Another focus area, as she said, is self-help groups or SHGs. Now, these are basically small groups of 15-odd people, mostly women. They come together, they pool their resources, often produce handmade goods and strive to improve their lives. Many of these self-help groups or SHGs are a lifeline for Indian women. So the government wants to help them, give more market access to their products. A third focus is ownership of property. The finance minister had a message to state governments. Reduce stamp duty on assets bought by women. What does that mean? Stamp duty is a tax on property. When you buy or sell property, you must pay stamp duty. The finance minister says reduce it for women. And why is that? To encourage female ownership. The men in families tend to monopolize land. So the idea is to break that monopoly to incentivize women ownership. And this is very important, a very important issue in India, because land is a building block of growth. You need land for loans, you need land for houses, for a small factory or production setup. You also need land for political power. Look at this report by the World Bank. I'm quoting, strong, properly enforced land rights can boost growth, reduce poverty, strengthen human capital, promote economic fairness, including gender equity, and support social progress more broadly. So land rights are very important. But Indian women have long been denied land rights. Look at these numbers. Around 62% Indian men own a house. And among women, just 42%. And out of this, only 13% own the house alone, only 13% women. The remaining 29% own it jointly with someone else. Now we come to land. Around 43% men in India own a piece of land. What about women? It's just 31%. Now you may think the situation is worse in rural India, but that's not the case. 36% of rural women own land, but only 23% of urban women do. So your so-called city dwellers are actually worse off. Of course, stamp duty alone will not solve this. You need a comprehensive strategy, some legal tweaks, some cultural reforms, and more education. That's the only way to improve women's land ownership. But why is this issue so important? And I don't mean just land. I mean the benefits for women. Why do budgets focus specifically on them? For 3 broad reasons. Number 1 is social justice. Centuries of patriarchy have created massive gender gaps in wages, in healthcare, and in opportunities. So every government has a responsibility to address that. Enter the budget. You can create targeted schemes for women. You can set aside more money. And most importantly, you can spell out priorities. So that's one reason. Reason number 2, the economic benefits. Women make up almost half of India's population, yet very few make it to the workforce. It's like fighting with one hand tied behind your back. Obviously, you won't win. And that's what India is doing. Look at the rate of female participation in the workforce in this country. It was 24% at the time of independence. It rose to 33% by 1972. It remained constant for decades. Then it plunged to 23% in 2017 and then rose again to 37% last year. So look at the period from 1972 to 2024. Half a century to go from 33 to 37%, which is completely unacceptable. And in case you're wondering, the rate of men's participation, men's labor participation, is almost 77%. So we must address this urgently. If not, India's job problem will persist. Which brings us to reason number 3, why focusing on women is important. Politics. Women make up half of all votes. They don't vote as a single political bloc, but I'm sure incentives help. Consider the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. The BJP won a landslide victory, and one reason for that was the overwhelming support from women. No complaints though. Whatever the motivation, whatever the reason, women empowerment should be a priority for all parties because it is not just a gender issue, it is a national issue.
Across continents, one powerful news source.
Bringing you diverse perspectives on the issues that matter.
We go beyond the boundaries to give you that little extra about every sporting moment.
So thank you for making Firstpost 5 million strong. We're counting on your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news unfiltered and unvarnished.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for a future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
On the show today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can you expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alice Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
Let's start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. The first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Aaron Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C.